So there's some talk going around that China has been studying the other side of the moon, which is called the dark side. Dark side being that is the side that does not get any sunlight. I'm not sure. I believe, if I'm not mistaken, the moon may not rotate. It may just float with the Earth because the Earth's gravity is pulling it, so it doesn't actually rotate like the Earth does. And I mean, I could be wrong, guys. That's the only thing I can think of why there's a dark side to the moon where no light is too. And China has been studying it for the past few years now. So the thing about this is, if you guys don't know about the dark side of the moon, that is a big reason we have not tried to go to the moon before. Go to the moon again. Since we went to the moon and had the moon landing, the real one, not the fake one, nobody has been back to the moon. After so many, I think they went a few times and then they just stopped going. They said they lost the equipment. Now this is 60-something years ago, 50-something years ago. How can we not go back when technology is way more advanced? Well, I'm going to tell you why, guys. So, there was something on the moon. There's this movie, and I want you guys to check it out. It's not based on the actual moon landing, but I believe it's called Apollo 9 or Apollo 11. One of those two. I can't remember which one it's called. I think it's Apollo 9. And these guys basically get attacked by some creatures on the moon. Well, on the dark side of the moon, there are some creatures over there that kept those astronauts at bay and stopped them from ever going back to the moon. There are astronauts that were killed in space and was covered up by NASA and the government because they didn't want the people to know what was truly out there and exactly how close it was to Earth. The moon is a base for visitors to go at. It's a base. That's where they go. If you ever seen UFOs that come out of the water, they shoot up in the sky so quick. You don't even know what happened. You don't even know where they went because they're going to the dark side of the moon. And when we did go to the moon, they don't talk about how there were already dead astronauts up there. From which country? We may never know. But from what I heard is Russia or the Soviet Union at the time, but they tried to cover up the astronauts being killed on their original moon landing they had because they originally made it to the moon before anybody. But the astronauts were killed by the things on the dark side. They didn't land on the correct side of the moon. And once NASA found out about this, they still took the risk of sending people to the moon just on the correct side. That's why the Americans were able to land on the moon first without any deaths because they already knew that the Soviets had lost some astronauts on the dark side of the moon. Like, this stuff spreads like wildfire. China knows that the dark side of the moon holds a lot of secrets and a lot of things that could unlock secrets to this Earth that we may not know about or that may be known by a select few who are hiding it. You guys haven't been looking at the moon lately? It's been changing colors. Some days it's just red. Why is the moon red? Because right now, the moon has a lot of activity. A lot of activity. And because we are basically at war with the beings on the moons, they go up there and they fix their vehicles. They do everything they need to do on the moon. And lately, they really haven't been trying to cover it up. They've just been doing it. That's why the moon's been lighting up so many different colors. There are moon people. Whether you like it or not, there are moon people. The moon has been occupied for years. They have bases on the moon. And they're trying to say right now the United States has a base on the moon that they don't talk about. And that base is to monitor those creatures on the moon. What do these creatures look like? That is a question I would like to know too. Are they big? Are they small? Are they scary? Are they normal? What do they look like? All we can do is wonder what the moon people look like. But China is trying to figure out a way to get to the moon with secure weaponry so that if anything goes on, they can fight back. But because the moon has no atmosphere, it's much different than being on Earth and shooting a gun. Dealing with space wars is much different than dealing with a war on Earth. Being on the moon is much different. It's not the same. So what China is trying to do is figure out a way to get on the moon, put plenty of people on the moon, and be able to fight back and figure out what is exactly up there. Because whatever's on the moon is playing a big part of a lot of things that's going on Earth. The moon people have been watching us for a very long time. And eventually, they're going to start coming to Earth and showing themselves and taking people, more and more people, to these bases on the moon. They take our humans, our everyday people, and they take them to the moon base. That's why a lot of people can't remember what happened or anything like that. They don't know where they were at because they were put in a spaceship and they were taken to the dark side of the moon where they were experimenting on. Some people make it back, some people don't. But it's a very scary thought that these moon people are even a thing. And they've been around for so long, and what they've done to some of the humans is scary. China is trying to figure this out and trying to gain from the material that they have on that dark side of the moon, because there's some very valuable material on that dark side of the moon that will be generational changing to Earth. Any country that gets a hold of it will immediately become the superpower of the world, and China knows that. United States knows it too, but they fear what's on the other side of the moon because they know what's over there. And if they can get China to be taken out first, or find out the things first, they can sneak in and steal the show. That's pretty much what America's doing. So they're letting China do all the dirty work with the studying, and they're going to try to swoop in and take over. But they know exactly what these moon people are capable of. Like when you look up at that moon and you see that red, that means a lot's going on the moon. That means the moon is really working. They are on the moon doing something very big. So this is something we have to look out for, guys. Pay attention at night. When you go outside and you look at it, just pay attention. Yeah, pay close attention to the moon, and you'll realize exactly what I'm talking about. The sky is something creepy, man. Look. This is not normal. Our moon isn't normal. The darkness isn't normal. The world is changing right before our eyes. Guys, be prepared. The moon people are here. And things are about to get real scary. And we'll see how far China gets with this project. But this could be life-changing for us, for the moon people, the dark side of the moon. If we figure this out, the world will change forever.